For bun training, there's only a few concepts that are really important for bun training. The first rule is you gotta have the right buns, right? So for the right buns, you gotta make sure the number one skill that you're practicing is grill temp management. The exact same process that we did for the flat top over there for the grill side is the exact same concept as this, except the flame heights are gonna be a little bit different on this one. For these, you barely want a 1/4 inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch. How I normally gauge that is if you crank it too far, the flames will turn off, right? So you want it right before those flames turn off. Once they turn off, you know you've gone too far, right? But if you still have room to go, then you know you're too high. The far left, then the next one, then the next one. So the first 3 from the left, if they're on a 1/4 inch, you kind of already know that you're gonna have the perfect grill temp for the whole day, right? Anything higher than that, you're gonna start scorching your grill, but then you're going to toast too much and then not warm all the way through. So the two things that we're looking for when we toast any kind of bun is the toasting part, the searing part, right? The golden brown part. And then the other part is it hot all the way through? So toast and heat are the two things that we're looking for, right? If the bun is soft and hot all the way through, but there's no toast, that means your grill is too low, and that means it's going to take too long to toast the bun, right? If you get a good toast, but the inside is still cold or still hard, then you know that that grill is too hot, right? So that's how you can kind of gauge whether or not it's too cold or too hot. And then once you find your sweet spot, it's good all day long, right? Number one skill, grill temp management. The number one rule for every bun that we have is a good toast and hot and soft all the way through. That's a perfect bun, okay? So the perfect bun is 100% soft all the way through. It's got adequate butter coverage from edge to edge, but not so much that it's sopping wet with butter, okay? It's got great grill contact, and how you know that is if you don't have any round, untoasted spots on the inside of your bread. Golden toast all the way through, and it's brown and not black. Once it's black, you already know it's way too far, right? Whenever you're toasting buns, if you look at a bun that's fresh from the package, it's not flat straight, right? It's got a curve to it. So if you look at a bun, you see that there's a concave spot, right? The part that doesn't touch the grill all the way to the bottom. All right, so no bun is gonna be perfectly flat. You're gonna see dips and divots in every single bun. Whenever we put a bun on top of this grill, we wanna make sure that we press firmly down on the flat top so it gets a firm grill contact on each side of the bun, okay? So if I do this, you know, so when we're toasting this bun, we want to make sure we press flat down on top of it, right? We want to make sure it's firm contact. As you're pressing down on it, you can kind of feel bubbles bursting underneath your hand, right? That's how you know you're getting really good contact with it, okay? Once you have firm contact with it, leave it for a little bit. It takes about 2 minutes probably to toast the bun all the way through. So as it's toasting, if you push on it or you pick up on it, if it doesn't release, then you know it's not ready, right? So let it go for a little bit longer, let it get that toast. Once it gets that toast, it's gonna release on its own. If you wanna cheat it a little bit, you can kind of put your spatula underneath and kind of move it around, right? That is not all the way toasted yet. The reason why I know that is because it's a little bit too light, and also the bottom's not hot all the way through. For the top, we got a good release, right? It's nice and golden, but it's not hot all the way through yet. So Tyler likes to use the back of his hand because it's more sensitive, so you can feel if it's getting hot all the way through or not. You'll get a better gauge of whether or not it's soft and hot all the way through if you use the back of your hand. Under no circumstances do we ever flip the top bun over. The reasons why we don't do it is, yes, it does heat up faster, but it also creates a crust on the top, and sometimes it'll create a ring, like a round brown ring. It just doesn't look pretty, right? But the bottom, however, especially for a jalapeno cheese bun, since those are really soft, those are okay to flip over on the bottom, but the bottom's only, okay? Never do we flip the top, but the bottom is okay. A couple of reasons why we flip the bottom buns over is because it does cook and toast a lot faster. So that way you can take it from the grill, put it onto a plate, and someone can start dressing it before the top is ready. The top is usually the part that takes the longest to heat up all the way through. But we're almost getting there. Another reason why we keep our grill zones or grill temperatures in zones is because if we have a good toast on it and it's not hot all the way through, we move it to the cold side, right? So now I don't have to worry about this thing toasting anymore, but the heat can still permeate through the bun and heat it up all the way through. All right, so now that we know how to toast a regular sourdough and a jalapeno bun, we can move on to white bread. Or actually, let's do po' boy bread. So when we toast po' boy bread, we don't toast po' boy bread on the flat top. We toast po' boy bread in the press. The reason why we toast po' boys in the press is because it has two heating elements, top and bottom. So you're gonna get a toast on each side, but the inside is still gonna be very soft and warm, right? The key to every bread that we toast here, the insides have to be soft and hot all the way through, as if it was fresh baked bread, right? If it's not, it feels stale and it tastes stale. But as soon as you heat it all the way through, it's perfect, okay? So for po' boy bread, we trim the ends off. These are 10 inches, or they should be 10 inches. Trim off just enough to where it's exactly 10 inches. If it's shorter than 10 inches, just trim the ends, like very barely, right? So the reason why we do that is because in New Orleans, it comes in 3-foot sections, and then people cut off that 3-foot section because we're using Leidenheimer po' boy bread, which is from New Orleans. But we're trying to mimic the look of a New Orleans style po' boy. When we toast this in the press, we usually have a souffle cup or a bowl so the press doesn't smash that po' boy bread all the way through. So once we put the po' boy bread into the press, we're gonna wait until the outsides get toasted, like nice and crispy, and then the inside is soft all the way through. If the insides aren't soft all the way through yet, then we leave it in the press for a little bit longer. Whenever we're slicing through po' boy bread, we wanna slice all the way through. No matter what sandwich we're putting together, we're always gonna build it from the bottom up. So at the very bottom, we have our bread, our bottom bun, and then we have a condiment, and then we have our lettuce, our tomatoes, and then any raw toppers that we have, that goes on after the tomatoes. Because after all of our raw things, we're gonna put the patty, then the cheese, and then the other toppers that are already cooked. The only thing that's not cooked on these toppers would be the avocado. But other than that, everything else is cooked. The reason why we don't put the avocado on the bottom, it just doesn't look as pretty, right? Avocados are expensive. We charge extra for those. So I want people to see the avocado first. Once we put the patty with the cheese, then we have the rest of our toppers like bacon, egg, shrimp, boudin balls, fried pickles, fried jalapenos, fried onion strings, and avocado. On the top bun, we now put another layer of condiment. Unless it's a plain sandwich, it's going to have condiments on the top and the bottom. The reason why we put condiments on the top and the bottom is because when you walk by, visually you can tell whether or not it's a plain one or not, right? If you walk by and you see mayo on one side, but you don't see something on the other side, you don't know that it's plain or not, right? Or no condiment. Let's assume someone says no mayo on a club sandwich, right? If you walk by and you see lettuce and tomatoes and you don't see mayo, you already know that's a no mayo, right? But if we would have put mayo on the bottom and then cover it with lettuce and tomatoes and then not have anything on the top, you couldn't walk by and say, oh, that's no mayo. You'd have to ask the question. You'd have to say, hey, Diamond, is this no mayo or not? The reason why we do everything the exact same on this side is because if anyone ever has to come over here and help, they don't have to ask a lot of questions. They can just straight look down and say, all right, this is where you are, cool, now I can help you, okay? When we talk about bun positions, it's really easy. Bun 1 position is the entry-level position to the bun station. For bun 1, you drop all the buns, you cut and toast all the po' boys, you make all the grilled cheeses, you do all the toasties for soups, and then you dress buns and po' boys as well, because that's how you're gonna learn. So not only do you drop everything, you put them on plates, you slide them down, you put them in the right order, and then you help dress at the same time, right? The other responsibility for bun 1 is to help plate, but also to help bun 2 and 3 when we have them, right? At no point is bun 1's job ever completely done, right? If you toast a bun and you have the time, you help. You never tell somebody that, hey, I toasted the buns, I'm done, right? Because that's not gonna help you learn that station. It's not gonna help you to learn what comes on these sandwiches. It's not gonna help you to learn how to get faster. Bun 2 is what we call the line side expo, all right? So bun 2 is the person closest to the KDS. They're the person that reads things off as they come in, right? So as a ticket comes in and it dings, I'm gonna say, hey, Diamond, 3 sourdoughs just came back, 1 jalapeno just came back. So if you're bun 1 All you have to do is listen for my voice, and then you drop what I tell you to drop, right? If Bun 1 ever gets confused and say, hey, I don't know what I need, he's gonna ask Bun 2, hey, Diamond, what do I have? And then you're gonna look on your all day count. You're gonna say, all day I have 7 sourdoughs, 4 jalapenos, 2 roast beefs, or 2 po' boys, and a grilled cheese, okay? Bun 2 is our line side expo. They dress all the buns, all the po' boys. They read and call out the tickets to people. They help the grill person with a burger count or a patty count. So once the roasty po' boys get dressed on this end and it slides down this way, Bun 2 can be the one next to the steam table and ladle out the roast beef, okay? Since Bun 2 is closest to the steam table, they're also gonna be the ones that put on marinara for pizza burgers. When we're toasting white bread, we wanna make sure we get the same even coverage of butter on one side only, right? And then when we put it onto the grill, we want a nice golden toast to it, okay? Now what you're also gonna notice is we don't put condiments on the butter side. We put it on the opposite side of the butter. So this is where flipping it over is gonna help you out. Because if you don't flip it over, the other side is really, really soft. You can't really put condiments on it because it's going to divot into the bread. It's gonna make your bread, or it's gonna make your sandwich look a lot smaller than it is. For white bread, we toast a nice golden brown on one side, and then we flip it over to what I call drying it out, right? You don't really wanna toast on that side. You just wanna dry it out enough to when you put condiments on it, it doesn't dig into the bread. Cool? That might take 30 seconds on the other side, right? It doesn't take that long. Like, we don't need another toast because I still want that soft feeling on the inside. So how I want someone to experience one of our burgers is when you eat a burger, I want you to feel the softness from the outside. Then I want you to feel and taste that golden toast in the middle of the bread, right? And then as your teeth go through, I want you to go through the condiments. I want you to go through the toppers, and then I want you to get to the protein, all right? So as you experience that perfect bite, that's what we're looking for. So that's why we don't layer everything at the bottom and then just put a bun on top. Because when you bite it, your mouth is going to feel an asymmetrical flavor profile. I want you to have the entire thing as you bite down every single bite. So the first step of doing this is making sure our grill is clean. It looks pretty clean right now. There's not a bunch of crumbs on there. So you're good. Yeah, show it. There you go. Nice press on top. I love that. Beautiful. All right. Do you feel that butter kind of popping under your palm whenever you're pressing it down? All right. Now's the boring part. We're going to let it toast for a couple of minutes, and we're just going to, you know, what's up? What's up? You can talk. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, dude, nice. Show me. Did you? Yeah, show me the toast. Yeah. I love it. Soft and hot all the way through? Nice. How's your toast looking on that? Nice. All right. That toast is kind of starting to get a little dark. Move it over. Boom. Perfect. Now, I forget what I can say over here. If you're toasting too fast and you're not hot and soft all the way through, move it over to the cold side and let it heat up on there, on that side. Let it heat up on that side. Will you toast me some white bread, please? Nice. Good butter coverage. You talking about smashing it? Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that. Whenever we're toasting any bread, we want the bread to be as tall as possible. So don't smash your bread down. Is that good enough? That was. Oh. Didn't you say you wanted to smash it down? All right. So once you see steam starting to come from the top, you already know that you're getting your heat. Check the toast and see what we're looking like. Oh, we can go a little longer. There you go. We're almost there. All right, we're getting a good toast on it. All right, now we flip it over for like 30 seconds. Dry out the other side, so that way when we put our condiments on, it's not gonna tear into the bread. It's not going to tear into, it's not gonna tear into the bread. Oh, you know how many cuts I'm gonna have in this stupid video? God dang, guys. All right, Diamond, show me that toast, bro. Nice. Now we know. Bun One's job is never to stack buns underneath the heat lamp above the station. We don't cook extra buns, we cook to order, okay? This is what we call sandbagging buns, and we don't do that. We always cook buns to order, and we cook them when the customer orders it. If you see people stacking a whole bunch of buns and bread under the heat lamp in the window, that's definitely a no-go, right? How it should work is, whenever they finish toasting from the flat top and they bring it to the line to get dressed, they put it on plates for us. We always go top bun on the top, bottom bun on the bottom, every single time, no deviations. So part of Bun One's job is to take these plates and put them down on this cutting board and then put the right po' boys in the right order, right? So if they don't know, they can either glance over and kind of see what's going on, or they can ask Bun 2, our line side expo, hey, what order these go in? And she's probably gonna say sourdough, sourdough, jalapeno, sourdough, right? Something to that effect. As we're plating the bread to be dressed, oh, here's a good tip too. So when you're placing bread, when you're doing white bread, for instance, right? You always want the two ends to connect, so when you flip it over, it looks prettier, right? Top to bottom, and you flip it over, it just looks a little wonky, right? I took out 4 plates over here because what if we have a sourdough, jalapeno, and then a white bread, right? What we're gonna do then is put a place marker so we don't forget. So as we slide this down to bun 2 to dress, they're gonna dress their buns, they're gonna do their thing, and then they know that they're missing a spot. So they know that there's something that they need that isn't already on this board. Also reminds you to go, all right, sourdough, I have a jalapeno bun. So when we're dressing buns, we want enough, but not too much. So we want about ½ ounce of condiment on each side, spread evenly across the whole thing. So if you load up your spatula, you're not gonna use this whole thing, right? But you're gonna be able to go a lot faster. And if you look at it, there's not too much on it, but there's enough. We can always add, but we can't take away. So unless someone asks for a lot of mayo or extra mayo, then we can go a little bit more heavy with it. But still, that should be about enough for a extra mayo. Once again, we can always give them more on the side and they can add them on as they want, right? If you notice, there's no mayo on the sides of this, right? We want the mayo to be on the inside, not on the outside. We don't want it to ooze off of the bun. When we're talking about putting lettuce on top, I talk about using a 3-finger pinch. A 3-finger pinch looks about like this, right? And then we can put it on. So once we put the lettuce, then we put our tomato on. 1 slice of tomato right there in the middle, right? Just enough. Once again, we can always give them extra lettuce, but if we overload it, it's just not gonna look good. So when we're doing a club sandwich, this gets a little difficult for people sometimes, but if you're setting them up correctly, it's gonna come out perfect every single time. So before the club sandwich, before the bread's done, you can prep your cold cuts, right? Anytime we do cold cuts, we always layer them and we fold them, all right? The reason why we do it this way is because this looks a lot thicker than this, right? This looks better than this, and it's the exact same amount of meat. So it's 3 slices of turkey, and it's 4 slices of ham. So we'll always layer our cold cut so it looks like there's more, right? To give good color contrast, we put the Swiss on top of the ham, and then we put the cheddar on top of the turkey. Next, we take our bacon, 2 slices of bacon. We take our 2 slices, we'll cut them in half, and then we'll put them on the bottom. So the ham goes on the bottom, the turkey goes on top, okay? The reason why the bacon goes on the bottom is because if we press that bread on top, if the bacon's on the top side, that bacon, if it's crispy enough, it'll poke through the bread. But at the bottom, it won't poke through that middle part. This is the part that's gonna get kind of cool, right? How we start to layer these things together. So for every club sandwich, 3 slices of white bread, 4 toothpicks. Remember how we talked about layering the bread? So we always want to face our ends together whenever we're doing sliced bread. So when we flip it over, it's symmetrical. Same concept, except at the bottom, keep in mind that when you flip over the top, this now gets layered on top of the other one, right? So how it's gonna look is gonna look like this. It's gonna look bottom, top, top, bottom, okay? We're gonna make this a straight up way. So we're gonna take our mayo, light spread, right? Across the entire slice, all the way across, okay? Remember, we can always add, but we can't take away. Same 3-finger pinch, right? 3-finger pinch for the bottom, 3-finger pinch for the top, 2 slices of tomatoes. So 2 slices of tomatoes. And keep in mind that all of my stuff is very straight. It's very organized right now, right? So for my bottom piece, I layer my ham, my Swiss, my bacon, and then I put my turkey with my cheddar on top, and then I flip over my top piece, and I give it a little smush, just a little bit. Not enough to smash it, but enough to hold it together. So the trick to this is going to be when you layer them one on top of each other, if you layer them all crooked, whenever you cut through, it's gonna be a crooked club sandwich. So you have to make sure that from top to bottom, like from the top, looking at the bottom, your bread is layered perfectly. So if you have to stand on your tippy toes, stand on your tippy toes. But then you make sure that your club sandwich is even on every single side. Once you know that it's even, you want to make sure that it's level, because if you push it down on one side and then put a toothpick through, that's going to skew your club sandwich. So whenever you're putting toothpicks in, you want to make sure that it's flat. And I like to think to myself north, south, east, west. So top, bottom, left, and right. You want to be about a ½ an inch away from each edge. So whenever you cut them down in triangles, that toothpick is going to be in the middle of it, okay? This is also going to be extremely important to use a serrated edge. If you use a straight blade, you're just going to push down all the way through, and then you're going to have a crappy looking club sandwich. So the sawing technique is the same technique that we're doing, right? So I'm not going to put any pressure on this bread until I cut through the top part. Once I cut through the top slice of bread, then I can apply pressure, and then I can slide through, okay? So now that I know that I'm straight up, I'm all evened out, I'm going to cut between these toothpicks. And then I like to hold my fingers right here, and then I'll saw very lightly, right? I'm sawing, I'm letting the knife do all the work. So once the knife makes it through that top part, now I can firmly press down and then give it a little bit more pressure. If you don't cut all the way through and you try to pull this knife out, it's going to pull your sandwich. So you have to make sure you cut all the way down to the cutting board, hold your sandwich to the side, so your thumb and your finger on the outsides of this knife, and then you pull through, okay? Then we'll turn it, and then we'll try to make a 90-degree angle with the first cut that we made, right? So 90 degrees to this is gonna look somewhere around this. Because if you go corner to corner, you're gonna have a slice that's like too thin sometimes, depending on how the bread comes out. Because not all the bread that we get is perfectly square. So if you focus on getting a 90-degree angle, but as close to corner as possible, and still as close to the middle as possible, then whenever you cut through, same concept, we're gonna saw through the top, right? We're sawing through the top, no pressure yet, no real pressure. Once we cut through the top, and I make it through the bread, then I can push down and then slice through, right? So when we're placing these, if you remember geometry, each opposite side is going to have the same angle. So the top and the bottom go together, the left and the right go together, all right? So push down on the toothpick, make connection with the cutting board, so that way when you slide it out, it slides out all the way. This is how we'll plate the club sandwich, and then we'll put our fries right there in the middle of it, okay? Not too far out on each side, because then it looks like the plate, then we don't fill up the plate, right? So give enough room on each side, so that way whenever you put your fries on, it looks like it's a full plate.